Hey y'all, it's Krypton Critics. I'm here to review the film Dead Man from 1995, directed by Jim Jarmusch. Stars Johnny Depp as William Blake, Gary Farmer as Nobody, that's the character's name, Crispin Glover as the trained fireman, Lance Henriksen as Cole Wilson, Michael Wincott as Conway Twill, Eugene Bird as John the Kid, uh, Robert Mitchum as Mr. John Dickinson, and Millie Avital as Tell Russell. Now, through reading, I found out this movie uh, did not make any money back that they put into it. I think they put around $9 million into making the film. They only got back $1 million, which is a damn shame because this is very well, well, for the most part, for pretty much the entire film, is very well edited, very well shot, has very consistent themes, very good acting. It just very good, most part, all the way around. Johnny Depp's character, William, starts off as very meek and timid. He never raises his voice to anybody. He's very he's bootless. Beginning of the movie comes from Cleveland. This movie takes place sometime after the Civil War, United States. He's on a train. He goes from Cleveland. He has experience as an accountant. He's looking for a job as an accountant at a metals work somewhere out in the West because he has a paper saying that you had this job. His parents just passed recently, so he's out on this train. The train sequence is probably the weakest editing. He just jumps to him doing something different. He may look at other people. He may be like reading a book or playing with cards. But he does have a pretty interesting dialogue with the train fireman, and it just cuts to men on the train that are like fur trappers. That about half of probably the actors in this movie are some kind of frontiersmen or fur trappers. The fur trappers, start shooting outside of the window while the train's moving to kill, buffalo, American bison, just to show how hectic it is, and it shows like how unused to the environment he's in. Where he came from, they don't do shit like that. So it's interesting to see, his progression and how the story takes him. When he gets over to the metalworks place, he's denied the job because someone else has it, and the guy who was going to be his boss is John Dickinson. He ends up a vendetta against Johnny Depp's character because he's responsible for someone close to him dying. Early in the movie, William Blake gets in bed with a ex-prostitute that now is starting paper florism. Just happens that this woman was fiancée to this one guy. He is very upset, so he tries to shoot William Blake. Girl jumps in front in the shot. This might be considered spoilers, but this movie's been around for a while. To me, that is not the biggest spoiler of the movie. How it ends, I think it is closer. But to me, that is one of the best scenes because I was not expecting it. But when I watched it, there was like a few seconds that I couldn't feel like I could breathe. Like, oh shit, shit just got real fast. He leaves. The only person that he shoots is the guy. He doesn't shoot tell or sell the ex prostitute who everyone thinks he did. You know, it was all accident from, you know, I'm sorry, you know, the man to be, and it's been, you know, kind of hinted at that the relationship wasn't doing that well at that moment. So he runs away. He is shot, like right here, I think, and he steals a pinto horse, and he just is on his way. He's found by this, you know, chubby Native American man. You know, he lives a very traditional lifestyle. He dresses up much like a chieftain does. He's always talking about stupid fucking white men, which, you know, is very entertaining line for him to say because he always says it at the right moment. He is my favorite character in this movie, definitely. You know, he just becomes more likable and likable. He befriends Johnny Depp's character. He's the one that takes the bullet out of him and tries to heal him. Now, it's, you know, it's weird. This Native American guy, you know, he goes by the nickname Nobody. He believes that this William Blake is the poet that died back in 1827. You know, he's a real man, you know, the poet, and frequently nobody will recite or mention his poetry and his works and say that, you know, he'll take on this gun and, you know, his words in poetry will be written with blood. And, you know, that's very interesting, and there's a lot of elements that are grabbed from, you know, 1800s literature and that make its way into this film, which, you know, it's no, it doesn't take away from the film at all. It actually adds to, you know, the scholarly merit of this great fiction and how it fits into the cinematic classics, you know, that type of shit. But it is cool, and, you know, I have no problem with it. So Mr. Dickinson sends out these three guys, Conway, the kid, and Cole. Cole is clearly the leader. He is the one that is sociopath. Spoilers, I guess, but he's a fucking cannibal. He raped his parents, killed them, and ate them, and he eventually kills and eats Twill after he fucking shoots the kid a few days before because, you know, he gave him sass. And he doesn't get upset about this. He doesn't look mad, really. He's just like, well, what are you gonna do? So there's no way around it. He is a fucking villain. I kind of liked Twill, Conway Twill, you know, because he has a very entertaining scene where he's supposed to be like, you know, almost like a bounty hunter badass that's been, you know, all this crime and shit. He probably has wanted posters in other counties. But he still sleeps with a teddy bear. And, you know, he's while he's sleeping, he'll like talk in his sleep and like talk about how sweet his mother is. So that was very cute, and it ends up in like dark humor because he points a gun at the kid who is essentially he's a teenager. He's a black guy. They don't respect him, you know, because he's black and, you know, he's young. I'm surprised no one called him nigger or jigaboo, and I don't think anyone calls him a slur unless you consider the kid. I think that's more direct to his age more than it is to like something you calling a grown black man, hey boy, instead of doing that shit. But I kind of want to know what they would have done if, you know, they weren't axed off so quickly. I kind of wanted to see more of the adventure. I was, you know, one of the prospects that I liked the idea of is that you would have these three villains that are kind of bumbling in their own way, and we'll have their plot, you know, side plot, and how they're chasing down Johnny Depp's character. I thought that would be really fun. But at the same time, we also get to like, what the fuck is wrong with Cole? Jesus Christ. Because when he kills Conway and eats him, it's played off in the most ridiculous way I was imagining. It's not like gratuitous necessarily, but it's just like this is the most everyday thing for him because he's at a fire, he's kicking back, and just like taking bits of his charred, skinless hand. You see like the bone structure and the meat on there. Just so he's eating chicken or fish and like, this is good. I'm surprised they didn't like pull out hot sauce and shit and like, this is delectable. Right off the forearm, delicious. It's just, it was really really weird and kind of disturbing all at the same time. And I think he might have like superhero strength because he like crushes a guy's head. This guy, has just been killed, but he like squishes it like the guy is a fucking egg. The guy's dead. But I do like the change of Johnny Depp's character. He goes from weak and timid, and he goes a little bit into a badass. I was actually surprised of what he was able to do. And Johnny Depp's performance is subtle, but it's still very good. He doesn't have that many moments where he flips out. He flips out, I think, one time at nobody because he's just like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying. You're having all these weird epithets about the crazy white man and the Great Spirit and the Vision Quest, and I don't fucking get it. That was pretty fun, and that is like one of the only conflicts between those two characters. Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that because the connection that they have towards the end is very cool. This is also a excellent representation of Native Americans during the 1800s. They are not depicted as savages. That's the way some white men see them, especially a missionary that works at like a small, I think maybe it's a military base, but he sells like tobacco, smallpox on blankets, and ammunition. They go in there. There's a weird scene where he asks for autograph, but just trying to kill Johnny Depp's character because he has a bounty on his head because he killed a man. He ends up killing two marshals, which is one of the most badass scenes from for his character. And he stole the horse. And back in the day, if you steal a horse, that's enough reason for people to put a rope around their neck. They steal a canoe. They go to his village. There's still the message of whether he's been dead the whole time, if he's actually like maybe a reincarnation of the other guy. Clearly not, because spoilers, he dies. Nobody dies. Well, the character nobody dies. I'm not saying that no character dies. But that was actually pretty sad, but he had a decent send off. He was put in a canoe. He was taken to, I think it was a Blackfoot. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was a Blackfoot village. The village looked very, like really cool. They had like this very cool, Thunderbird design door opening. I was like, oh. And I never seen that in any form of media, and I thought that looked very well. And costuming is on point all around. This movie feels like it's set in the world it's supposed to be, and nothing looks out of place. Dialogue, nearly every line is a good line, and some of them are pretty quotable. I would have to say. Music, once again, there's a lot of electronic riffs. Those are pretty fun, and it does make the movie feel as a whole. Nobody introduces his backstory, which is pretty interesting. he was basically put in. He was perceived as a savage by the white man. He was put into like a cage and trotted throughout, America, and basically put there as like a zoo animal. He learns white man's English. Eventually, he turns back home. Part of it was because he was abandoned by I think the tribe he was with, because they didn't accept him for being half of the blood of one tribe and half of another. So that was very interesting development of knowing that, and I really do like that added, because once again he is my favorite character in this movie. And there's an interesting scene where before Cole actually finds William Blake and nobody, and they had the last confrontation right outside the village in the water that Johnny Depp's character wanted to go on. Nobody leaves William for him to have a vision quest, and we find him, I think, maybe 20-25 minutes later, and he's he found this native woman, and they're just macking it underneath a bear skin, and William doesn't know what the hell's going on, so he pulls out a gun, and he just had nobody said like, oh shit. And the girl, like, I guess she cusses out both of them, and she tries to walk away, and nobody tries to go get her. So, it's interesting to know that nobody, he gets bitches, but at the same time, we don't know anything. Really don't know anything about that girl. We don't know what happened to her. We don't even know if nobody sees her again. It was actually a weird way for these characters to come back together. What I mean, come back together. I'm not saying that nobody and William are in like a gay relationship. I'm just saying how they come back into the story and meet each other and progress. But yeah, we don't know what happened to that chick. I hope she didn't bump into Cole and end up getting raped, killed, and eaten, because fuck, we don't need any more of that. That's fucking crazy. It's kind of like never mind. But yeah, pretty much everybody has some kind of thing to their character, and everybody has a lot of fun. John Dickinson, he is disturbing and slightly terrifying. He just like pops in and puts a gun to your head. Like, oh shit! Hey, how's it going? And he used that intimidation for his benefit. I kind of want to know if anything happens with him. Does he just give up the surge? Because not many people know that he's, William dies. But yeah, overall, this movie is fun. There's a lot of good scenery that they do with the landscapes. Being on west, where there's nothing to clutter it up. There's no buildings, just rocks, mountains, forest, streams. It all looks beautiful. Good reflection, good exposure. This movie is entirely in black and white, and I think that helps in the identity of this film, because I think if it was in color, it wouldn't feel so much of that psychological dread, because at heart this movie is a noir psychological western. It's also a dark comedy, and I think that dark comedy needs to be in there, because otherwise this would just feel overly drab. And yeah, I'm gonna give this movie A-. I really did enjoy it, and I suggest other people should see it, considering that it's very underrated. It's by the Christian Critics. I love it.